there are so many factors that comes to play when a developer is putting up real estate. And some of those factors is the land values have gone very high, almost to an overwhelming pricing that a developer has to contend with when he's thinking of development. And then, of course, also you're looking at the cost of construction. The cost of construction also has tripled over the years. And then the cost of finance. So with all these factors, developers are finding it still more cost effective to focus on the high end and the middle class market, where the matrix, the cost benefit makes sense. Because by the time they add up the input cost, they're still able to attract good buyers who can make them leverage on their cost of construction. But on the lower end market, where the demand is needed, there are a lot of challenges. For you to do a development, you have to get land that will be affordable. Those land are far away out of town. They don't have infrastructure. They are not accessible. So the developer find it very hard to be able to go in that market, because for proper provision of real estate housing, it has to be a private sector driven. Now the private sector are looking for profits. They're not going to do this development for free. So they cannot go and do a development where they are not assured of any income. So how can we achieve interest in the low income areas? Is by the government coming up with more proactive incentives for developers who want to invest in the low income housing areas, even providing say land and approved ready plans that will even fix the price that can be done, and providing alternative source of funding, because today the cost of funding is another bigger challenge. The banks are charging as high as 18% interest, which is very high for any developer who want to go there. And then the government can even come in and say, we'll take care of all the infrastructure costs. We'll take care of all the approval costs. And we'll only want a developer to come in and say, I can do 20,000 units, 10,000 units. In that way, with the government partnering in a proactive way with the private sector, it will be easier for the private sector to venture there. Because we know the government also cannot do development. They just have to be facilitators. But they can come up with practical incentives that can be able to make developers focus on those regions. It's a high time that this project of digitalization is completed, because a lot of transactions rely heavily on lands. I mean, for even you to get a title that you can do a development with, it has to be a clean title. Who is in charge of ensuring the titles are clean? Is the government. For you to be able to register the mortgages, again, the process has to be faster, has to be clear, has to be transparent. And this digitalization will act in a good way in terms of fast-tracking the legal processes in lands, which are very imperative. In fact, you cannot do a development without the due process of the transactions at lands. So the digitalization and the land process affect a lot of development. You find some development could be complete after 1 year, but developers are not gotten their money because the mortgages are still not being processed. The files cannot be found. Files have disappeared. You find a developer, like look at the case of Karen. These cases of Karen should not be happening 40 years after independence. The issues of title ownership should be very clear from your tablet. Should be able to just log in into the websites of lands and be able to know who owns which land, even before you buy it. To do land transactions should not take you more than a day, like happen in other countries. This can be done here.